Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you've ever thought about doing business in Papua New Guinea, there's one piece of legislation you absolutely need to know about. We're talking about the Investment Promotion Act of 1992. This is basically the rule book for any foreign investor looking to get in on the action. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at why this law even exists in the first place. Then, we'll meet the key players you'll be dealing with. After that, we'll walk through how you actually get your foot in the door. Then, we'll cover the rules you have to play by, and finally, we'll weigh the risks and rewards, the protections you get, and the penalties you could face. So, first things first, to really get this law, you have to understand the problem it was built to solve. I mean, why does a country like Papua New Guinea need to actively manage foreign investment at all? Isn't all investment good? Well, not exactly. At its heart, this act was a response to the very real struggles that local businesses in PNG were facing. They often had a hard time getting access to capital, finding workers with the right skills, or getting their hands on the latest technology. And even if they made a fantastic product, just getting it to market was a huge challenge. The idea behind the act was to attract foreign investors who could help fill these gaps. And here is the absolute key. This law isn't about opening the floodgates to just any foreign cash. The goal is to be strategic. It's about attracting smart investment, the kind that will bring real, tangible benefits. We're talking economic growth, jobs for local citizens, and a better way of using the country's own resources. All right, every investor's journey needs a guide, right? Well, in PNG, that guide is the Investment Promotion Authority, better known as the IPA. You should really think of them as the official one-stop shop for any foreign investor coming into the country. Officially, the IPA is what's called a body corporate. Now, that's just a fancy legal term, but what it means for you is that it's the single official entity you'll be dealing with. It was set up by this very act to be the front door for all foreign business in Papua New Guinea. And what's really interesting here is just how much the IPA actually does. It's not just a gatekeeper stamping approved or denied. They're also a facilitator. They'll give you information, help you with licenses, and they even play matchmaker, connecting foreign investors with local partners and opportunities. It's a pretty broad role. So you're ready to jump in. You want to do business in PNG. Your very first step, and this is non-negotiable, is to get what we're calling your golden ticket. This is your official certification from the IPA. And without it, you're basically dead in the water. Now, the process itself looks pretty simple on the surface, but don't be fooled, it's incredibly detailed. You have to submit a really comprehensive application with everything from your business name and shareholder info all the way to cash flow forecasts and proof you've got the funding. Once all that's in, the IPA has 35 working days to make a decision. And if you're thinking, maybe I can just get started and worry about the paperwork later, well, think again. Look at this. The fine for operating without that certificate can be up to 100,000 kina. That is one of the biggest penalties in PNG legislation, and it sends a very clear message. Do not skip this step. It is important to know, though, that there are a few exceptions. This act is really focused on commercial, for-profit businesses. So if your organization is a nonprofit, something like a charity, a school, or a religious group, you're probably exempt from this whole certification process. Okay, so you did it. You got your certificate, time to pop the champagne, right? Well, not so fast. Getting certified just gets you in the door. Now you have to follow the rules of the road to stay compliant and keep that golden ticket valid. And this slide highlights a critical distinction you have to get. On one side, you have reserved activities. These are sectors, like small-scale farming, that are completely off-limits to foreign investors. They're protected for local citizens. On the other side, you have national enterprises, businesses that are majority-owned by PNG citizens. Now, you can invest in these, but you need special permission from the IPA to do it. The act also requires you to keep the IPA in the loop, always. If your ownership structure changes in a major way, you have just 14 days to tell them. 2 weeks. For any other changes to the info in your original application, you have a month. The big takeaway here is that communication is mandatory. If you fail to notify them, you're putting your entire operation at risk. So all of this brings us to the real heart of the act, the crucial trade-off. It's a classic carrot-and-stick approach. You follow the rules, you get protected. You break them, and, well, the consequences are severe. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, the carrots. The government guarantees your property won't be seized without due process and fair compensation. You have the right to send your profits overseas. Great stuff. But on the right, you see the sticks.
That huge K100,000 fine is back. There are big fines for giving false info. And maybe the scariest one, if you sign contracts without being certified, those contracts can be declared completely void.
So, when you step back, you can see that the Investment Promotion Act is this really delicate balancing act. It's trying to welcome foreign money while also protecting its national interests. And that leaves us with a final, big question to think about. In today's fast-moving global economy, is a law from 1992 still the right tool to shape Papua New Guinea's future?